Praise the Lord. Welcome to Rapture Broadcasting Network's Word Explosion. I thank the Lord for this wonderful opportunity that God has given me. My name is David George, and today I would like to share some few thoughts that the Lord has put into my heart. Let's turn our Bibles today to the book of Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 10. Isaiah 41 and verse 10. It reads like this: So, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Dear brothers and sisters, the verse that we just read now, it's a verse of encouragement. A word which tells us about things that we need to overcome in our life sometimes. For example, many times in our lives we face fear. Many times in our lives we are attacked by dismay and discouragement and unhappiness. But today, if you are going through situations in your life in which you are under fear or under stress, this is a verse of encouragement. But let's just move on in detail of this verse. The verse 10 starts with the word so. It says, So, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. As we know, usually we don't start a statement with the word so. So basically what I'm trying to imply is there is something that God is saying before that. If you look into verse 9, it says, verse 9 reads as such: I took you from the ends of the earth. From its farthest corners I called you. I said, You are my servant. I have chosen you and have not rejected you. So do not fear. And henceforth, to whom is God or whom is Jesus saying these things to? To whom is Jesus saying, do not fear? To whom is Jesus saying, do not be dismayed? To whom is he saying that I'm going to strengthen you? And to whom is he saying, I'm going to uphold you? If you look into the verse 9, it says, God clearly says that you are my servant, and I have chosen you and have not rejected you. So it is to those people whom God has chosen that he is giving those words of encouragement. Today, if you are listening to this message, if you have stumbled across this video, it is not by accident. It is not because of a mere coincidence that you are listening to this word. This is exactly because God wants you to listen to this, because God has chosen you. You're listening to this because it's not because that you somehow just came into this video. No, it's because God wants you to listen to what he wants to speak to you, because you are chosen. Now let's move on to the verse 9. It gives you a better picture. It says, do not fear. And the next line says, do not be dismayed. If you look into this verse, if you study the verse carefully, you will understand that God gives two commands. One, do not fear. The second command that God gives is do not be dismayed. And if you look forward, the next two lines is going to give you, the verse talks about three promises. He says, I will strengthen you, I will help you, and I will uphold you. Two commands and three promises. Now, for example, let's just look into our lives. You and me, we all face difficulties in our life. You and me, we all face situations in our life in which fear is the biggest emotion that we face. We might be in situations in which you might seem that it's impossible. You might be in situations you might feel so down, so depressed, so anxious. But from my personal experience, when I face difficulties in my life, I always expect somebody to come and tell me, hey, do not be afraid. Do not lose hope. It's great to listen to such verses. But then again, what I like the most, or what I appreciate the most is when somebody comes and tells me, hey, I am with you in this. Today, you might be going through situations in which nobody is going to understand what you're going through. You might be in situations in which people don't actually understand what the difficulties you're facing. There might be people who's coming to you and they're going to say to you, do not be afraid, do not fear. You might think it's easy for them. You might think it to yourself, yeah, that's great. But they do not know what I'm going through. It's just mere words. But if somebody comes and says to you that, yes, I am with you through your troubles, that's the biggest, that gives you much more encouragement. What I'm trying to say is, you're much more encouraged to face the situation because somebody says they are going to be with you. So Jesus just doesn't say that do not fear. What's the most important thing in Jesus? He doesn't stop by saying that. He says, do not fear. Why? Because I am with you. Right? So when you face troubles in your life, when you face the demons of your life alone, that's when you feel so depressed. But today, take courage, because Jesus is saying, since you are chosen, do not fear, because Jesus is with you. Now, another interesting thing that you can understand from this verse is, it says, do not fear, for I am. Let's just focus upon the word I am. I am with you. And the next line says, I am your God. If you know about the story of Moses, when God called Moses to bring the Israelites from the hands of Pharaoh. When God called up Moses, Moses was reluctant to his call. But then later, he asked God one question, and the question was, God, you're sending me to these people, and if they ask me what is your name, what am I supposed to say to them? And then God said, if you turn your Bibles to Exodus chapter 3 and verse 14, it says, Exodus chapter 3 and 14, it says, God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites, that I am has sent me to you. People of God, so if you look into this verse, so do not fear, for I am with you. So what does that mean? It means that God is with us. And the next line it says, for I am your God. So the God who created the universe, the God who created you and me, the God who created everything that we see in this world, the God, He's saying that when you face the small situations and troubles in your life, He is with you. Bible says God knows the beginning. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He knows the beginning of your life. He knows the end of your life. If this God, whom He has given us the right to be called His children, so basically we're calling upon our Father. If our Daddy in heaven is saying to us, do not be afraid, He is with us, what more encouragement do we need? Let's move on. Now let's look into the next two lines. As I said, the first thing was two commands, one of which was do not fear, and the next one was do not be dismayed. What does the word dismay mean? It means unhappiness, or it might mean something that happens to you unexpected. In our lives, when we face such situations, when we feel like you're losing the grip of your life, Jesus is saying, or God is saying, that I am your God and I am with you. Now, if you look into the next two lines I said, the three promises that God gives, that I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you in my righteous right hand. I will strengthen you, the promise that God gives. When do we need strength? We need strength when we are facing battles in our lives. We need strength to face the difficulties in our lives. And many a times, by facing these difficulties, we tend to weaken in our lives. We might seem to lose the battle. But God is saying, even when you are in this, you might be eyeball deep in troubles, you might be in difficulties, God is saying that I'm going to strengthen you. Let me encourage you with a couple of verses, which says, if you turn your attention to the book of Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 29. Isaiah 40 and verse 29, it says, God says, He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. People of God, we are all humans with limitations. We are all humans with weaknesses and weary. But God is saying that He gives strength to the weary and He increases the power of the weak. One more verse, if you turn your attention to Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 19. Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 19. What does it say? It says, the sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of the deer, and He enables me to go to heights. People of God, what more do we need to know? God is saying that He is my strength. Habakkuk is saying about his God. He's saying, God, you are my strength. And Habakkuk personally from his experience, he says, He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. We all know how a deer escapes from its prey, but it's because of its pure ability to run fast. Today, in our difficulties, in the challenges of our life, in day-to-day life, when you might feel like you're not capable enough of doing the things that we need to do, God is saying that He is our strength. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next verse that we talked about. He says He will help you. If you turn your attention to Psalms chapter 46 and verse 1, what does it say? It says, God is our refuge and strength and an ever-present help in trouble. People of God, dear friends, brothers and sisters, all of us would love to have help. Get some help from somebody when we face difficulties in our lives. You and me, in our difficulties, in the most strangest of circumstances, we always expect that somebody would help us. And there might be a lot of people around us who gives us his hand and they say, yes, I am there to help you, but at the last minute they might go away. But here we're talking about a God who's existent from date unknown. He who created the world, who created the universe with His word. He says that I'll help you. There's nothing impossible. There's absolutely nothing impossible. The potential of God is impossible in your life. There's nothing impossible that He can't do. So, why do we need to worry about? And the last verse, the last promise that He says is, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. That is one promise that no other man or woman in this world can ever give you. Have you ever heard anybody say to you that I will uphold you in my hand? Absolutely not. What does that mean? That gives you the strength and that gives you the ability to move forward and say that, yes, God, I am in your hand. I'm basically in your hand. There's no harm that can befall me. No human, every human or every people with whom we put our trust upon, they have limits. But God says that I am upholding you in my right hand. If you look into the verse 13, it says, Isaiah chapter 41 and verse 13, it says, for I am the Lord your God who takes hold of your right hand. God first says in the same chapter we read that He upholds us in His right hand. And the next in the verse 13 it says that God shall hold your right hand. If today God is holding your right hand, if you turn your attention to Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 2 and 3, it talks about God holding the hand of a man named Cyrus. And the verse and the promises that God gave to that person to whom He held His right hand is this, that I will go before you. I will level the mountains. I will break down the gates of bronze. I will cut through the bars of iron. I'll give you the treasures of darkness, riches stored in secret places, so that you may know that I am the Lord and the God of Israel who summons you by name. So today, my dear friends, as I said, God has chosen us. And to those people whom God has chosen, the words that God has to say is, do not fear. What He has to say is not dismay, because He is God and He is with you. The promises to the chosen generation is that He shall strengthen you, that He shall help you, and He shall always uphold you in His right hand. He also says that He is going to hold your right hand in such a manner that when difficulties come upon your life, when you face difficulties which are so harsh that you cannot understand what is happening in your life, He says, I am the answer to your questions, and I am your Father who loves you always, and I'll never let you down nor forsake you. God bless you.
With a servant's heart, we will use media in all its forms to broadcast the Father's heart to every nation, to reach the lost and equip believers for the harvest. We will be leaders in the creative world, setting a precedent and reflecting the Father's own incredible creativity.